Good evening. You're watching Connect. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Our big focus on the show today, a student of Puducherry Central University has allegedly committed suicide after hanging himself to a tree. Preliminary probe pointing clearly to the Blue Whale challenge as the reason. Yes, the threat clearly growing faster for India. As yesterday, another case of a Blue Whale challenge had come to light. Another suicide, which was of a 19-year-old college student in Tamil Nadu. Well, after all of this, DMK President M.K. Stalin writing a letter to the Home Minister Rajnath Singh as well as Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad to intervene and ban the Blue Whale game. We'll be looking at the challenges, though, that the government will face in curbing this Blue Whale menace on the show. My colleague Gauri Dwivedi also joining us in the digital headquarters of NewsX.
Uday, this nefarious online game, if we were to really call it, is now beginning to actually find a lot of takers in Indian teenagers, and that's a very, very worrying trend because, you know, just one statistic before we in fact open this to our panelists is the fact that for 2017, the highest amount of searches for Blue Whale game actually was in the city of Kolkata. How troubling is that? I'm talking about globally in the list of cities. It is Kolkata where teenagers are actually searching for the Blue Whale challenge. Now that exactly is the reason why we need to talk about this in greater detail as to what can parents do, can the law intervene, can the government do something about it, and in the end, yes, what is it that the role that schools play in actually being able to prevent this particular calamity or catastrophe. We have with us, in fact, Ms. Arora, who's the principal of JBM Global International School. Ms. Arora, my first question to you.
Right. So, of course, as Gauri begins that conversation in our digital headquarters, we will also kickstart this discussion in our studios. And remember, through the course of the program, as always, you can connect with us on Facebook or on Twitter or on our WhatsApp numbers. All of those are, of course, those details are flashing there on your screens. We'll be taking your comments live on the program. We will be joined shortly by Rakshit Tandon, who's a cyber and security expert. But we have Ajitesh Gupta also on the program. He's a student of the DPS school in Vasant Kunj. We also have Sonal Ahuja, who's a senior educationist and a teacher counselor. But if I can begin with you first, Ajitesh, have you also heard of this Blue Whale suicide game, and what have you heard about it?
Yeah, actually I heard about the Blue Whale suicide game a few months back, and my opinion about this game is that it's pretty disgusting. And for me, like, students in today's age are doing it for attention and temptation. Like, for attention, I would say people are doing this under pressure of peers. They are doing it by their own choice, and I would say like FOMO, fear of missing out. But at the end of the day, it is that they are doing by their own will and their own choice. But why? Is it the lack of attention from near ones that these people tend to cater to the attention of strangers? That is, in this case, the Blue Whale curator, and the temptation. I would say that the forbidden fruit is there, but even if it is removed, then I would say, like, even if it is removed, the temptation and the curiosity to have it is the bigger issue, and for me that is the #1 problem.
And have you heard of any of your friends or peers who's tried this out at all?
No.
Okay, thankfully not. And do you feel then, Ajitesh, that there is a need for the government to step in to ban this Blue Whale game? Because, as you said, there is the temptation, and you can't curb that temptation in all Indian kids. Yeah. So do you feel the government should step in?
See, I believe that government should take a step to prevent this. To be honest, the creators and the members of this Blue Whale game are untraceable. They use a VPN code which nobody can track in this, like, entire world. Like, if the government can find out what they are up to, then it would be highly beneficial, but it is a very big challenge for
Okay, so possibly sensitization is also needed. That's also something that the Union Minister for Women and Child Development, Maneka Gandhi, has urged schools to do. She's put the onus on educational institutions, saying that they need to sensitize teachers and kids about the menace of this Blue Whale challenge, and that will, of course, further curb the game and its spread. Well, quickly, I want to start getting some viewer comments. I'm being told some viewers connecting with us on Facebook already. Let's quickly pull out on our screens what the viewers on Facebook are saying, what our NewsX viewers are saying. So, Zorawar Singh has this to say: stay away from this game, especially teenagers, because the number of the teenagers has committed suicide already. Francis Joseph has this to say: Blue Whale challenge is a parenting challenge. Parents can only diffuse it. So they're, of course, putting the onus on the parents. More comments. Ravi Teja Aboju has this to say: people are becoming so dumb that they are playing shitty games and killing themselves. Shajil Ravindran has this to say: to stop your kids from playing this game, don't give them smartphones. So those are, of course, some of the comments already coming in on Facebook. If I can quickly get in Sonal Ahuja at this point. Sonal Ahuja, you are someone who, of course, works with educational institutions. Do you feel also it's the onus of the teachers, apart from the parents, we'll just get to them in a bit, but also educational institutions should also play a role in sensitizing teenagers and kids about the menace of this Blue Whale game, as Menaka Gandhi has suggested?
Yeah, definitely. It's very much needed in the schools. And I will also say that it's not only about sensitizing. Why not bring media, internet, technology as one of the subjects, core subjects in the schools, right? Because once we do this, children are aware from the very beginning what are the pros and what are the cons of using technology and where they have to go, where they're not supposed to go anywhere. So they get well versed about it. Yes, schools can play a very important role. And teachers have to take a lead. I believe teachers can be more like mothers to them, that whenever the children, especially when they enter into their puberties, their adolescence, they want someone to talk to them. Even I go with Ajitesh that yes, it can be a cause of neglect when the children are not heard properly, or maybe the parents and the teachers are not really going down to their level and spending good enough time with them, apart from whatever the curriculum they have to take care and other activities in the school. Probably this connect is needed. And once it is established, open communications are established, and children can be, open, narrating their stories, and we are not being kind of judgmental in listening to them and then stopping them. No, it doesn't happen this way.
Okay.
So one has to have that mindset, being a teacher or a parent or anyone. I mean, any adult who is there dealing with the child has to have that mindset. And only then things will change.
All right. Well, let's quickly cut across to our digital headquarters. There's a parallel discussion, of course, happening there as well. So, Gauri, over to you very quickly.
In fact, yes, Uday, the discussion continues to be around the fact that, the classic dilemma that any parent or teacher or student faces is connectivity versus overexposure. Can we only blame everything on the smartphone? Is it really the bane of all the students' misery as far as this Blue Whale is concerned? Or can there be some sort of a middle ground that can actually be achieved?
See, this is one of the factors that to shun the use of mobile or the smartphones. Another thing, what we really can intervene, our government also can intervene. See the case of China. China is not letting in Amazon. China is not letting in Facebook. Whatever they are doing, they have their own things. Whatever we are getting. Suppose Blue Whale. Blue Whale is adopted it was discovered in Russia. And see, and our children are here in India, and all over the world, the children are facing this problem. So government can intervene in this type of games and in this type of technology use. So it can be banned.
Okay. So it can in fact be banned is the message that's coming in Uday from the digital desk. We've got Ms. Arora, who's a principal with the GBM Global International School, and educationist, of course, who understands what is it that needs to be done to curb the growing menace of Blue Whale.
Right. If I can quickly join Rakshit Tandon also at this point, who's a cyber and security expert joining us in our studios. Rakshit Tandon, according to you, what's the way of curbing this, the challenge that Blue Whale poses? Of course, it's, across the world, it's bared its fangs, it's bared its tentacles, taking scores of lives. But now, of course, it seems to be a growing challenge in India as well.
So, first, let's clear this thing that it's not in form of a game. It's nothing which can be downloaded. It's nothing which can be installed. So it's just exploiting the vulnerability of kids. So there are those curators or so-called admins who are sadistic people and who thinks harming yourself and harming others is fun. So these are the kind of guys who are always constantly hunting online. They use some special hashtags or social media platforms, chats or something, where they identify their victim and they talk to him and give them challenge. So if I think you remember, a few months back, you could find everybody on Facebook putting ice bucket on their heads. So that was the kind of challenge people were accepting. Same way, they talk to my kids and they give them a challenge, a dare. Okay, now this is what you have to do. You have to harm yourself. You have to make something on your arm. So that exactly was the name given Blue Whale. And now they have different names coming out. So we need to understand that why my child is so vulnerable that he can do self-harm. So here the challenge is for the parents also, and even for the kid to be strong. He should love himself. Nobody, and there's one more point which has come here is that these people, when they chat, they threaten him. They threaten the child saying that we will harm your parents, we can kidnap them, we will kill them.
So of course sensitization is needed for children, but now talking about the IT logistics, since you are a cyber expert, I have to ask you, is it feasible and possible for the government to ban it? Given the domains and the IP addresses, etc., is it possible for the government to ban this? Is it feasible for them to ban this game?
You give us a bad website, yes, we can ban it. You tell us this website is harmful, we can ban it. You tell us this app is wrong, we can block the app on the App Store. But when there is no app, there is no game, not a downloadable file, there are some people hidden, chatting, giving you challenges, and you are accepting it and harming yourself. Whom do we ban? So that is the biggest challenge, technological challenge. So if people are saying that ban Blue Whale, so we can ban a game which is visible, which has a server, which has a source, which has to be downloaded. So these guys are talking, chatting on private chat room, they create groups. They talk to my children.
So it becomes difficult to track them down. It becomes difficult to track them down to authorities. I'll just come back to you. I want to quickly go back across to my digital headquarters.
100 deaths that have happened. Over, in fact, 7 to 8 is the number of deaths in India alone. Ms. Arora, the question to you is, one has talked about the role of school. What about the role of parents? Because, you know, if you talk to a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, he's not going to be giving you or she's not going to be giving you his mobile phone so easily. There are enough and more locks. They are so private about their lives. So it's not so easy for even the parent to break into that shield to be able to even counsel his or her own child.
See, line of control, one has to have whether it's parents or the school. We at school do not allow mobiles at all, and when it comes to the parent, they also have to tell the pros and cons of each and everything, because most of the time the children are spending there at home. 6 hours they are in the school and rest hours they are spending at home, and they should know where the child, and these days both the parents are working, nobody is there to look after them, and they are given mobile just saying that yes, my child has to go to the tuition, so we want to keep a check on him. And what kind of check are they having? This is not mobile. Giving mobile does not fulfill the responsibility, because the mobile that you are giving is a resource and is a pool of so many other things which a child should not be access to.
Right, absolutely. So again, bringing back to the point that we've been making, that is it really so easy for parents or for school administration to actually break into the life and get into the lives of these teenagers? Because as we've been talking, Uday, these days now you have a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old who has a mobile phone, and then it is his or her private life on the internet, and no parent, no teacher, no relative, no friend circle can break into that particular inner circle, so to say.
Indeed, which of course makes the challenge even all the more difficult to, of course, curb this game. Let's quickly draw out some more reactions now coming in on our Twitter pages. What more comments are coming in from our viewers? Let's put it out. Sayanthan Ghosh has this to say: before restraining teens from using smartphones, try talking to someone who seems removed. Let's go across to another comment. Sahil Shetty has this to say: if someone is easily influenced by an app today for suicide, then definitely technology has taken over human brains. RJ Shivkumar has this to say: if you are so ignorant of your child, then it will also lead to the Blue Whale challenge. Kalpana Ravi, meanwhile, says it's sad to see how so many children are dying due to a game. I want to go back to our student in the panel, Ajitesh, at this point. Ajitesh, how old are you? Are you a teenager?
17, yeah.
Okay, so you are, of course, a teenager, and you are in that target audience of the Blue Whale creators. What do you feel is an effective way, or how do you feel is an effective way to curb it? Do you feel a child, say your age, a friend of yours or a peer of yours in any part of the country is going to be more keen to give up this game if his teacher talks to them? Do you feel parental support is needed, parental guidance is needed? How do you feel, this problem can be tackled?
See, on the individual basis, I think one should have the proper mentality and have the ability to what to do and what not to do and have the conscience of that.
But all teenagers don't have that.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe that parents and school authorities should keep an eye on, say, a specific student who they seem to be lonely, lost, and then further involve that particular student in social activities, I would say some sports activities, thus like in kind of engaging him in something, some activity.
Okay, yeah. Sonal Ahuja, at the end of the day, it is a psychological problem as well. Clearly, of course, the Blue Whale challenge needs to be tackled because the admins of the Blue Whale challenge are also targeting the vulnerable kids. So it's a responsibility of, of parents and counselors and school authorities to get to these children before the Blue Whale admins can.
Yeah, I think such thing is happening in the society and it's almost in the air. We should be alert enough. These are the signals we are getting. So I feel, I really want to question also, how many of us have really gone into this game, downloaded or seen ourselves and got into the stages these people are asking. So when it came to me, I kind of went into it and I saw the way they are going ahead with. You are well versed, you are well aware as a parent or a counselor. And I seriously believe it's the parent role, specifically. If they see such signals that a child is quite confined into a room and sticking to the screen, they can actually have a good tap on it by understanding the game exactly. If they see the child is wake up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, because the game says that a child has to get up in the morning, 4 o'clock, watch a horror film consecutively for 3 days, which is kind of, if I get that information that it is something going ahead like that, then I shouldn't sleep being a parent. I should have sleepless nights. So it's
clearly,
on
of
me.
course, yeah, clearly, of course, greater sensitization of parents is needed. And also, because they're the guardians of kids these days. They're the ones who, of course, taking charge of kids' movements, etc. But also, Rakshit Tandon, you were talking about the difficulties earlier of tapping into this game. Because there's so many different chat rooms, it's not, as you're saying, one app that you can download or one website that you can have access to this game. So it becomes a logistical nightmare for a cyber cell to ban the game. But what's needed then is to tap into it, possibly, get one up from these admins.
So these different cases which have been reported, they've still not been, I think they've not been worked out with the cyber crime departments or the forensic departments. So, and it's in the process. So once we come to know exact servers, where are they operating from, and then we would be able to position out who are these actual curators and what kind of mindset they have, until unless, and we recently, as per the news, I saw that a 17-year-old girl, again in Russia, claimed to be a mastermind of another mastermind of this game, has been arrested. So we are not still sure, because until unless we find an evidence of a phone and we get to know this boy who whom was he chatting with, what groups he was added to, until unless we don't get all these kind of evidences, it's very difficult to understand which are the servers, what are doing it, and how we can block. But in spite of that, Honorable Minister for Women and Child Development has urged all the Ministry of Information Technology, and they in turn have spoken to all the important service providers.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's important to realize it's a problem. Realization is the first step, and then you tackle it. Swine flu and other diseases also, this was the problem. You had to realize that this was a threat for the country, and then you took measures to tackle it.
And sensitization is important. We're regularly conducting seminars and workshops with children. And as Sonal rightly said, that parenting here has to play a very major role. And talk to your children. That is what I see when
because obviously there's something clearly wrong in your child, be it psychologically, or there's a vacuum that these people can tap into if they can get you to self-harm yourself. So what kind of perverse ideology are they instilling in children is the big question that, of course, needs to be pondered over by experts. But let's quickly go across to some more WhatsApp pages now. Our viewers connecting with us on WhatsApp. What are they saying? Let's pull out some comments. Vesak Sivadas has this to say: hack it, start a cyber war against this bloody game, find out the admins. Kanchan Kushwaha says this: Google and other Play stores should be removing this game proactively. More comments. Sweetie Aloysius has this to say: if there are so many cases of suicides by playing such a game, it should be banned, not to be played ever again. Nandini Rajayogi has said, why can't they just arrest the creatures and shut the game? Ajitesh, going back to you at this point, once this whole Blue Whale challenge came to light, and the cases, etc., started cropping up from across the country, are kids in school talking about it? You are a student yourself in a very prominent school of Delhi. Yeah. Are you hearing conversations in your canteens and your playgrounds about this?
Yeah, I do hear some conversation about this Blue Whale challenge, like the students committing suicide in India and abroad too. So, like, my fellow mates are pretty disgusted about this fact that these small children are committing suicide without knowing the consequences, like what their parents would live in, like what gloom would they live in. So, like, they think that it's horrible thing. It's a horrible thing.
And have you heard of anyone in your school or your peer age group who has tried to get onto it, to discover it, not to get into the tasks, etc., but just to see for themselves what it's about? As you're saying, it's that it's the forbidden fruit theory.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, not in my knowledge, someone has attempted to play this game.
Okay, thankfully, sensible kids in Delhi, clearly.
But children are downloading and they are so curious that the trending of search has gone on the top. And especially, I read in the newspaper that Kolkata was #1 in trending the search on this. Right. So it's better to talk to the children about it, aware them, and as Sonal rightly said as a counselor, that if you find a child going apart and he's waking up early morning, please ring the bell and be alert.
Absolutely. And of course, as the symptoms clearly, so it's like an ailment, it's like a disease. You have to see a list of symptoms, and if you're seeing your near and dear ones, come about with those symptoms, report them to authorities or immediately counsel them. Rather than report them to authorities, counsel them and check their mobile phones and of course, servers online, their laptops and computers. ASAP, literally. Okay, let's quickly cut back across to our digital headquarters. Let's take a listen in to what the conversation there is.
What are you trying to ban if I'm kind of repeating?
What we're looking to really understand and seek an answer to is, can the government, can the courts actually intervene in a case like this? That is exactly what I'm, searching an answer from Mr. Dalmia. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the point is ban what? As I said, it's a series of instructions you will find on all sorts of corners of the internet. It's not one single application, it's not one single hashtag. So it's going to be very challenging for the government, in spite best intentions, to try and ban this. I think they will have to work very closely with the technology companies like, the Googles and the Facebooks and Twitters of the world. And they will have to, use some smart machine learning kind of algorithm. Now we're getting into the technicalities of it, to actually automatically mine the web, to search for certain keywords which appear like the game and then go there and block it. Otherwise, it's not so simple, unfortunately.
And, I was reading up that there are more and more parents or concerned parents of teenagers who are actually going to cybercrime experts to find out if there is something that they can do proactively to actually prevent a situation like this.
Yes, so I think, one thing is parents should take cognizance of it and be very, be vigilant with their children, especially children who are of a certain age, and especially children who, may be vulnerable, whether there's depression, they're emotionally weak, they've been through certain recent trauma or experiences where, they may be more vulnerable to fall prey to something like this.
But that's all counseling. I mean,
it is.
Measures that can be taken.
Specific measures, look, there were, back in the day, there used to be, technology solutions like what used to be called Net Nanny, which would, for example, prevent you as a child to access certain websites. But the problem again here is which website. So at best what you can do is there are surveillance softwares which you can install on your child's laptop or iPad, and then you can know what he or she is looking at. So you can go through such extreme measures, but I'm not sure if the average household has that wherewithal or knowledge.
Vinayak, I really do not think in this day and age that a teenager knows less about technology than his parents. 9 out of 10 times he would actually be ahead on the technology curve than his parents. So it's unlikely that any of these proactive measures and extreme measures can be taken. But again, from a legal point of view, you think that there is very little recourse, very little that really can be done to save any more lives of these gullible teenagers?
Look, so from a legal point of view, of course, you can take step one is ban the publishing of it. You can take a step two is ban the dissemination or the distribution of it. So then the onus then falls on the, the technology companies or the blogs where these games may be found. And if the games are found, the onus becomes immediately on these companies to ban it and not to encourage further dissemination. So that, of course, those steps can be taken. The point I'm trying to make is on a practical, pragmatic point. It's not so simple to find those games. So, okay, you make a ban, but then what next? Where do you go looking to find those places to, curtail or curb?
So that's the point. That's the point, really, Mr. Tandon, isn't it? This is the challenge that cyber experts, of course, are not just dealing with in India, but across the world, because this is a global problem now.
And that is very astonishing to see that what experts can't find, my kids find it and they become vulnerable and be a prey to it. So that is the most challenging thing here and to understand. And that is why I said in the beginning that let these all cases be worked out properly and the cyber investigation takes place. And there we come to know exactly what was the reason. And if it is the reason and these groups are the reason, then what are the chat points? As he rightly said, we cannot ban. What to ban? We don't know the website, we don't know the app. And just because somebody shows interest, then this prey, they call it the curator or the admin, he finds the victim, and then he explores his vulnerability, finds out everything about him, and then he starts giving him dares.
But is this the problem, Sonal Ahuja, that our kids of this 21st century are grappling with in this era of social media and in this era of, growing up and aging very fast? There is this vulnerability and there is this, this vacuum that these admins are able to tap into so that kids can self-harm themselves, literally with a knife they're making tattoos, they're at the end of the day committing suicide as well.
I think if I try to zero in, we should get into a research mode completely, check on who are the children, the cases that has happened, who are the families, see their backgrounds, find out what are those vulnerable factors, whether the parents are not devoting enough time, whether they're not financially sound, so the child is into kind of a complex situation in the peer group pressures or some kind of bully or something which is too much on the rise nowadays. I think that research will help us find out exactly what families are those, so and then try the interventions.
Yeah, so now of course that it's been realized that this is a problem. Now research needs to be done on the Blue Whale game to understand the psychology behind it and of course immediately take proactive steps to curb it. We leave it at that. Thanks to our panelists for joining us on Connect this evening. Thanks also to our viewers who connected with us. A quick break on that note.